I can beatbox. Hello everyone, this is Krabman, and here we are in Bielawa, the capital of Owl Mountains, with our Mahjong expert from the UK, Daina Chiba. Hello.
Hello.
So Daina, it's your first time in Poland, in Bielawa.
Yes, that's right.
How do you like our little town, our location here, tournament venue?
Yeah, I really like it that it has a lot of nature in it, and I also was given a history lecture by the director of a museum adjacent to the library, and I learned a lot about the history of the town, and I found many of the stories quite fascinating and amusing. And Marek here also gave me a little tour of the town, and I liked all the factory, and I also liked the mountains. I haven't been to the lake yet, but I hope that I can pay a visit to there sometime.
Sure.
I really like that part as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's the occasion for you coming here? Obviously our tournament, Dragon Ball Rishi contest.
Mm-hmm.
How did you like the experience?
Oh, that tournament was great. I mean, I did well yesterday's tournament. And I also like the fact that you have recruited a lot of young players, a lot of teenagers, and the tournament also attracted a lot of international players as well. I think the 5-6 countries were presented.
Yes, 5 or 6 countries. Yes, something like this.
Yeah, so the tournament experience was really great.
And you also did well.
Yeah.
So congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and the other occasion, the big event which we're having today is the Mahjong seminar.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to thank you very much for accepting our offer.
Yeah, thank you for inviting.
And doing it for us. What will you cover in the seminar? There will be a lecture, a strategy lecture,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that it will be based partly on your first book,
Mm-hmm.
and on your second book, which is in the making, right? So can you give us more info about this?
So the lecture will be based primarily on the material that I prepared for my second book. I'm also planning to cover some of the, I'm also planning to review some of the stuff that I covered in the first book. But primarily the lecture will be a preview of the second book.
I see. All right. So yeah. What got you into writing such an extensive Mahjong book for everyone?
So first of all, I like writing things because I'm a professor. I'm a lecturer at the university. So naturally, I like reading and I like writing. But I also like Mahjong, and naturally, I also like writing about Mahjong. And so when I came to England, I realized that Mahjong is getting popular, or was already popular back then, and I was, really surprised to learn that there are a lot of Mahjong players in Europe. But I also realized that a lot of European players are struggling. They're trying to get better. They're trying to learn. They're trying to study, but there aren't many English materials to get better at Mahjong. So I thought maybe I can contribute by writing a short pamphlet on Mahjong, and then I started writing, and then the project kept getting bigger and bigger, and I ended up writing a whole book. And I actually just had to decide to leave some of the things that I wrote out because some of the things are too advanced. So that's why I'm now working on the second book.
All right. So except for the language barrier, when someone doesn't know Japanese, it's hard to find materials, as you said. But what do you think are other factors that make it harder for Europeans to improve? Or
I I don't think there are many barriers other than the language barrier. I think a lot of I'm hoping that a lot of European players will far surpass me. You know, once you get on learning Mahjong. I don't think there is anything that is inherently preventing European players from getting better, other than the lack of materials to learn from.
All right, and now they have it, thanks to you. So, how was the book received? Have you received any feedback? I guess a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've received positive feedback from a lot of people, but you know, I think that's partly a selection bias. If you don't like the book, I don't think they will tell me anything. So so far, all the people I've spoken to have said many good things, but yeah, so that's my take on it. It seems there are people who liked it, and I think I would just leave it at that.
All right. So let's just maybe dive more into your story in Mahjong. You started very early, I assume, when you were still living in Japan, right?
Yep.
And how did you play at first? Because obviously Mahjong is super popular, and it used to be in the past. So you didn't have any trouble finding people to play, right? So did you play parlors or just social play? How did it look like?
So I started playing when I was in college, when I was at university, and back then it wasn't very hard to find other players. But you know, after I graduated from university, and all my friends graduated from university, and you know, they start having life, right? So,
Life, yeah.
so it became suddenly very difficult for me to find players. That's when I started going to Mahjong parlors, where you get to play with strangers, and so I got onto that, and then I moved to the United States. And I couldn't find any player there, because I didn't know that there is actually a Mahjong community in the U.S. I wasn't aware of any of it, so I haven't stopped playing for a while until I moved to the UK. So the first time I played with tiles in England was at the UK Open, and that's where I met Gemma Sakamoto and David Clark. Well, no, maybe not David back then, but you know, a lot of other people who are important in the European Reach community, and they introduced me to the wonderful community of Reach players in Europe.
Yeah, and since then you have played many tournaments all across Europe. So how that experience was for you?
Yeah, I really like the social aspect of the tournament. I've never won at any tournament. I've won silver medals several times, but I've never won gold. That's
not yet.
That's a shame. Yeah, not yet. Yeah, not yet. So I like to get. I'd like to win a tournament someday, but yeah. But other than that, it's very fun.
I seen you mention that for the first few tournaments, you experienced kind of a shock because of the differences between players here and in Japan. So you had to adjust your strategy and everything. Did you adjust quickly to the more European style of play, or have you made any changes to your style?
I wouldn't call it a shock. I was a bit surprised by a few small things, nothing major. I don't think I've adjusted my strategy that much. So, and I also find it fascinating that a lot of rich players in Europe are using Japanese terms like sumo or richi, and that used to crack me up because that sounds funny to me. But other than that, I don't think I experienced big change in.
So when you look at European Mahjong over the years, because you have lived in the UK for quite some time, what are the changes you've observed? How is European Mahjong changing? Is the level going up?
Yeah,
people's awareness of the manners, table manners, stuff like this.
Yeah, I think they're getting better, definitely. And I've started observing only in the recent years. I've started with European players only in 2013, 14. So even in this short time period, I think they've gotten better, both in terms of strategies and judgment, as well as in table manners. I think a lot of people are getting more and more aware of table manners and etiquette in playing.
Yes. And also there are some people in Europe who are strongly in favor of table manners and promoting awareness of such things.
Yeah.
All right. So, being at the level you are currently in Mahjong, how do you push yourself to still keep improving? Because it's easy to become complacent and just, some people go like, oh, I'm at pretty high level, so I can just take it easy. So how do you still keep improving? How does Daina Chiba practice?
I don't agree with that characterization at all. I mean, I think even at the highest level, I think there are still rooms for improvement, and I'm not at the highest level at all. So there is a lot of things that I need to learn. So I don't see myself being complacent, at least for now.
Yeah. I wasn't blaming you, so.
Oh no, I know.
Yeah.
I think it's meant to as a compliment, but.
Yes. So, as you know, a lot of European players still aren't very keen on online playing, which still, given the sparsity of players, makes it kind of hard for a lot of people to meet regularly and play regularly, which is crucial to improving. So I know you've been kind of endorsing Tenho.
Yeah.
And other Mahjong clients, but Tenho is the major one. So for other European players who maybe aren't really aware of the benefits of online playing, how would you recommend online Mahjong to them? Why is it so important to also play online Mahjong? What are the benefits?
I mean, there are like a lot of benefits in playing online. I think I elaborated more on I listed up all the benefits in my first book. So for example, you can review the games easily. You can keep track of your performance over the long run, which may not be easy if you just play with real tiles. Yeah. You can also ask for advice. If you save the record and show the records to other more experienced players, and they might be able to comment on your plays and make suggestions on how to get better, things like that, and that kind of thing will only be available online. You can also find players, experienced advanced players quite easily online. I mean, it's basically a 24/7 thing, right? You can always find worthy opponent online, which may not be possible if you're not living in Japan. So I think there is a huge benefit in playing online, and I hope that a lot of more and more players join online playing.
Yeah. All right. I wonder what's your take on the process of learning Mahjong. What I mean is, my main question is related to learning on our own versus having some kind of guidance from whether one person or a group of stronger players. How do you think the processes differ from, and which one is maybe not better but easier or more beneficial to beginners?
To beginners, I think it's crucial that you get some guidance from more experienced players, and the game is inherently a social game, so I think beginners should get more. Should get advice and guidance from other players.
Right, because it's easy to develop bad habits, right, in Mahjong because of
a lot of the strategies
randomness.
are not intuitive. So some of the things that you intuitively think is a good idea may not be. So it's crucial that you rely on. You refer to reliable sources and advice from experienced players.
All right. So I also wanted to ask about your upcoming book. Can you give us a rough, not maybe date, but will it be released by the end of the year, or?
That's my hope. That's my hope. I think I said earlier, like, I think I initially said at the beginning of 2017, but now it's going to be by the end of 2017. I hope I can meet the deadline, but you know, I have work, I have life. So and although it's fun to write about Mahjong, yeah, I'm working hard to meet the deadline, but you know, I can't make a promise.
So we're keeping our fingers crossed for you.
Yeah.
And how's the process going? Is it maybe easier this time around after the experience you've had with your first book?
No,
or was even the first book quite easy for you to write because of the experience you have?
No, it wasn't easy at all, and I'm finding second book even more difficult.
Even more difficult?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what makes it more difficult? Because of the concepts you talked about there?
So that it has to do with the fact that, so the first book is primarily about generalizable strategy principles or theories, whereas the second book is more about exceptions, like exceptional situations where theories don't apply. And when we think about exceptions, it is critical to hit the right balance between following theories and not following theories. And that is more nuanced and very hard to generalize and very hard to talk about. So that's the critical hurdle that I'm trying to deal with.
So would you say at those more advanced, I would say, strategies or tactics, do you think there's more room for individuality between players? Because they all know the basics, so they have a better feel for where to stray from.
Yeah,
from the general.
I agree with the characterization.
All right. So, do you have any Mahjong plans or Mahjong dreams for the future? Like a few next years, or?
I mean,
any big tournaments?
Like I said before, I want to win a tournament.
At last.
At last. And I want to get better. And I also want to see more people playing. So I hope I can contribute to the recruiting more new players. I haven't done much on that aspect so far. I mean, I don't have any local club or anything like you do. You have started your own local club where you.
Yeah, I was lucky.
Well, it's not just lucky. You put some effort into it. So I want to do something on that in the near future.
Because in England you meet fairly regularly, right? Like once a month?
About once a month. So Gemma's promoter is organizing a group in London. So we get to play about once a month, sometimes twice, sometimes once over 2 months. Yeah, but I want the group to grow, and I hope that more and more players will join us.
Yeah, good luck on that. And do you think you will visit Bielawa again, ever?
Well, yeah, like the next tournament.
Next tournament?
Yeah.
All right. You all heard it. Next tournament.
yeah. I mean, if
it's on tape.
Yeah, I hope it's not like next week or anything, right? It's gonna be next year, right? Yeah.
Well, there's another tournament tomorrow, so I hope you'll stay. And the next week is another one.
Right.
Every week we'll do tournaments. So
Right.
So, any final words for the players gathered here and for those who will watch the video? Maybe some advice on getting better?
So, I don't think so. I mean, the viewers are gonna watch the lecture, right? No?
Yeah, they will.
Then this is not gonna be my final word. So please see the lecture. And
yeah, all right, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And now on to the lecture. See you again.
Bye.
Ah.